Trust is a delicate thing, like the diamonds around my neck tonight. Pristine, precious, and perfectly capable of drawing blood. I'm Roslyn, and this is the story of how I destroyed my marriage in front of 200 of Boston's finest. But let me back up to exactly 43 minutes ago when my husband of 10 years was fastening that $3 million noose around my throat. Ladies and gentlemen, Marcel's voice boomed across our mansion's grand ballroom. A decade ago, I married the most beautiful woman in the world. Tonight, I want to honor her with something equally beautiful. The crowd collectively gasped as he revealed the necklace. I maintained my practiced smile, the one I'd perfected over years of standing beside him at charity galas and business functions. Inside, my stomach churned. Darling, turn around, he whispered, his breath hot against my ear. The diamonds felt cold as he draped them across my collarbone. You're mine, he murmured, just loud enough for me to hear, just quiet enough to seem intimate rather than possessive. It's stunning, I replied, touching the stones delicately. Behind my back, I gripped the wrapped gift box tighter. Tessa, my assistant, caught my eye from across the room and gave an imperceptible nod. The USB drive was ready, loaded with everything we'd discovered over the past 6 months, every hotel receipt, every wire transfer, every single lie. Speech, someone called out. Probably Olive, my stepmother, always eager to maintain appearances. Marcel raised his champagne glass. To my gorgeous wife, who's given me the best 10 years any man could ask for. I watched Chloe's empty seat at table 6, knowing she'd arrive fashionably late. My dear cousin always did have impeccable timing. I'd like to say something too, I announced, my voice steady despite the rage burning in my chest. The gift box felt heavy in my hands as I turned to face Marcel. You've given me so many surprises over the years, darling. Tonight I have one for you. Caitlin, my sister, shifted uncomfortably in her seat. She knew that tone. She'd heard it the day I confronted her about dating Marcel before me, but this time she had no idea what was coming. Open it, I said, extending the box to Marcel. I picked it specially for tonight. His fingers brushed mine as he took it, and I remembered how those same hands had once made me feel safe, protected, loved. Now they just reminded me of all the lies they'd typed, all the secrets they'd tried to hide. Sweetheart, you shouldn't have, he said, that $1 million smile still plastered across his face. Oh, but I should have, I replied. I really should have. The room fell silent as he untied the ribbon. I could feel Tessa's finger hovering over the laptop's enter key, ready to project everything onto the massive screen behind us. 10 years of betrayal condensed into a 15-minute presentation. Before you open that, I said, loud enough for everyone to hear, I want you to know something. I touched the necklace, running my fingers along its cold surface. You always said diamonds are forever. But do you know what else lasts forever, Marcel? He paused, box half opened, something in my voice finally making him nervous. Evidence, I answered for him. Evidence lasts forever. His hands trembled slightly as he lifted the lid. I watched his face, that handsome, lying face, as he saw the contents, the international plane tickets, the text messages, the confession letter from his own employee. Roslyn, he started, but I cut him off. Don't worry, darling. The night is young, and I saved the best for last. I turned to face our guest, my smile now genuine for the first time that evening. He thought this was his night to shine, but I saved the spotlight for me. That's when Chloe walked in, fashionably late as expected, wearing the exact shade of guilt on her face that I'd been waiting to see. The diamonds felt lighter now, almost like a crown rather than a collar. Now, I said, nodding to Tessa, shall we begin the real celebration? The screen behind us flickered to life, and 200 glasses of champagne froze halfway to 200 sets of lips. The show was about to start, and I had front row seats to watch my husband's perfect world crumble. Trust is a delicate thing, but revenge is an art form. It started with an iPad notification, one tiny ping that shattered my world 6 months ago. I was watering the orchids in Marcel's home office when his tablet lit up. A hotel confirmation email. The Four Seasons, Boston. But the name wasn't his, it was Chloe's. It has to be a mistake, I told Tessa that afternoon, pacing my design studio. She's my cousin. She wouldn't. Tessa's fingers flew across her keyboard. The reservations for next Tuesday. When Marcel has that business trip to Chicago. Pull up his credit card statements, I said, my hands shaking as I poured myself a glass of wine. All of them. That's how we found the pattern. Every business trip for the past 3 years had a matching hotel booking in Boston under Chloe's name. Same days, same times. I need to talk to Caitlin, I said, grabbing my keys. I found my sister at her yoga studio after her last class. She took one look at my face and said, "Who died?" "My marriage," I replied, showing her the evidence on my phone. "Did you know?" Caitlin's face went pale. "Roz, sit down." "Did. You. No?" "I suspected," she admitted. "But after what happened between us because of Marcel, I didn't want to." "Because he dated you first?" I laughed bitterly. "That was 12 years ago, Kate. This is happening now." "I should have warned you back then," she said quietly. "About what kind of man he really is." I sank onto a yoga mat. "Tell me." "He didn't just date me. He was seeing 3 other women at the same time. When I found out and confronted him, he convinced everyone I was crazy, jealous, unstable." My phone buzzed. Another email from Tessa, bank statements showing regular transfers from Marcel's private account to one in Chloe's name. "I need your help," I told Caitlin. "Will you stand with me this time?" She grabbed my hand. "What do you need?" The next month was a blur of private investigators, late night research, and carefully planted recording devices. Every discovery was another knife in my back. Then came Nicholas, Marcel's junior partner with the smoking gun. "Mrs. Stevens," he said, sliding a USB drive across my desk. "I can't be part of this anymore." The drive contained everything, proof of Marcel funneling investor money through shell companies, all registered to Chloe. Years of fraud, all hidden behind our perfect marriage. Back in the present, I watched Marcel's face turn ashen as he stared at Nicholas's confession letter in the gift box. The screen behind us showed the first slide, a simple timeline of his affair with Chloe. "This is ridiculous," he announced to the room, forcing a laugh. "Rosalind's obviously confused." "Am I?" I clicked to the next slide. Hotel receipts, bank statements, photos from their business lunches. "Because I think I'm seeing things very clearly for the first time." Chloe stood frozen in the doorway, her designer dress suddenly looking like funeral attire. "Tell them, Chloe," Marcel called out. "Tell them this is all a misunderstanding." She took a step backward. I I can't." The room erupted in whispers. I saw Olive rising from her seat, probably to try and damage control, but Caitlin beat her to it. "Sit down, Olive," my sister said loudly. "Let the truth come out for once." Marcel lunged for the laptop, but Tessa was faster, switching to the next slide. Surveillance photos of him entering Chloe's apartment building, timestamp after timestamp. "Enough!" he shouted, grabbing my arm. "You're embarrassing yourself." I pulled free, my voice ice cold. "No, Marcel, I'm embarrassing you. There's a difference." The next slide showed the shell companies, the fraud, the millions he'd stolen. I heard several of his business partners cursing, their phones already out. "You're going to regret this," he hissed in my ear. I smiled, touching the necklace he'd given me just an hour ago. "No, I don't think I will." The box fell from his hands, scattering its damning contents across the floor. As guests scrambled to get a closer look at the evidence, I caught Chloe's eye. "Cousin," I said softly, "you're just in time for the best part." Because what Marcel didn't know, what Chloe didn't know, was that the real bombshell was still to come, and it would destroy them both. The ballroom erupted into chaos as the next slide appeared, a simple spreadsheet showing monthly payments from Marcel to Chloe dating back 3 years. Each amount matched perfectly with her downtown apartment's rent. "This is a witch hunt," Marcel announced, his lawyer voice taking over. "Clearly, my wife has had some sort of breakdown." "Really?" I interrupted. "That's your play? Calling me crazy?" I turned to the crowd. "Just like you did with Caitlin 12 years ago." Chloe finally found her voice. "Rosalind, please, I can explain." "Explain what?" I clicked to the next slide. How you used my husband's money to start your fashion boutique, or how you helped him hide millions from his investors. That's enough. Olive's sharp voice cut through the murmurs. My stepmother stood, perfectly coiffed as always, radiating disapproval. You're making a spectacle of yourself. This should have been handled privately. I laughed. Privately? Like how you privately knew about their affair for 2 years and said nothing? The room went silent. Olive's face turned white. Oh, yes, I continued. I found your text to Marcel, warning him when I was getting suspicious. Helping him gaslight me into thinking I was paranoid? I was protecting you, Olive snapped. You should have just kept quiet and preserved your marriage. Sometimes we must accept. Accept what? Caitlin stood up so fast her chair toppled backward. Accept being cheated on? Accept being stolen from? You let him do it to all of us. Marcel tried to approach me again, but Preston, Caitlin's husband, stepped between us. Back off, Marcel. Stay out of this, Preston, Marcel warned. You of all people should keep your mouth shut. Something in Preston's expression changed. I filed that exchange away for later. Show them the video, Tessa called out. I clicked again. Security footage from Marcel's office played, showing him and Chloe in a heated argument 3 weeks ago. The audio was crystal clear. She's getting suspicious, Chloe's voice rang out. We need to move the money now. Let me handle Roslyn, Marcel replied. Just stick to the plan. Once the divorce is final. Divorce? I paused the video. Were you planning to blindside me with that too? The crowd's whispers turned to open discussions. I spotted several business partners making calls, no doubt to their own lawyers. You've ruined everything, Chloe sobbed, mascara running down her cheeks. No, sweetheart, I replied. You did that all by yourself. Marcel made one last attempt. These are all lies, fabrications. I'll sue. Sue who? I asked sweetly. Your own employee who provided the evidence? The bank that supplied these records? Or maybe you'll sue the private investigator who took all these photos. I touched the necklace again. You know what's funny? You thought this would bind me to you forever, but it just became evidence of financial manipulation right before a divorce filing. The room spun with activity. Phones recording, people talking, Marcel's business partners heading for the exits. I'd orchestrated the perfect public execution of his reputation. This isn't over, he growled. You're right, I agreed. The FBI will be very interested in those shell companies. I believe fraud investigators are meeting you first thing Monday morning. I turned and walked toward the door, head high, the diamonds still glittering at my throat. Behind me, I could hear Olive trying to salvage the situation, Chloe's quiet sobs, and Marcel's increasingly desperate attempts to explain. None of it mattered anymore. I was almost at the entrance when Preston caught up with me. Roslyn, wait! He grabbed my arm gently. There's something you need to know. I looked at his troubled face, remembering Marcel's threat moments ago. What is it? Not here. He glanced around nervously. But trust me, you don't know the half of it. I studied my old friend's face, seeing real fear there. Whatever he knew, it was big enough to shake him. Tomorrow, I said. Come to my office. As I walked out into the cool night air, I could still hear the chaos erupting behind me. 10 years of marriage destroyed in 15 minutes of truth. But Preston's words echoed in my mind. I didn't know the half of it. I thought I'd uncovered every lie, every betrayal. Apparently, I was wrong, and I had a feeling the real storm was just beginning. Preston arrived at my office the next morning looking like he hadn't slept. His usual crisp suit was wrinkled, and his hands shook as he accepted the coffee Tessa offered. Start from the beginning, I said, closing my office door. Remember that tech startup I invested in 5 years ago? He loosened his tie. The one that failed? I nodded. Preston had lost nearly $1 million in that venture. It didn't fail, he said quietly. Marcel sabotaged it. The coffee cup nearly slipped from my hand. What? He found out I was about to close a deal with a major investor. The night before the signing, Marcel met with them privately, showed them doctored financial reports suggesting I was embezzling funds. Why would he do that? Preston's laugh was hollow. Because I knew too much. About him, about Chloe, about what really happened with Caitlin years ago. I leaned forward. Tell me. Marcel didn't just date Caitlin, he stole from her. used her business connections to secure loans, then left her holding the debt when he moved on to you. My stomach churned. Why didn't she tell me? He threatened to ruin her yoga studio if she did. That's why I never said anything either. He promised to destroy everything Caitlin and I built if I spoke up. I grabbed my phone, texting Tessa, "Get Nicholas here, now." While we waited, Preston revealed more. How Marcel had systematically targeted successful women using their connections and resources to build his empire. How he'd perfected the art of financial and emotional manipulation. Nicholas arrived 30 minutes later, clutching a new stack of documents. "Mrs. Stevens?" He nodded nervously. "There's more you should see." The papers revealed a pattern spanning 15 years. Marcel had been running this scheme long before he met me, leaving a trail of destroyed relationships and emptied bank accounts. "Why come forward now?" I asked Nicholas. "Because he's planning something bigger," Nicholas replied. "He's been moving money offshore, setting up new shell companies. I think he's preparing to disappear with everything." I called my lawyer, Ellie, and put her on speaker. "How quickly can we freeze his assets?" "With what Nicholas provided, I can file for an emergency injunction today." "But Roslyn," she paused, "there's something else. Marcel recently tried to have you declared mentally incompetent." The room went silent. "He what?" "He's been building a case. Fabricated medical records, paid off therapists, witness statements about erratic behavior. He was planning to take control of your entire estate." My hands clenched into fists. "Let me guess, right before serving me with divorce papers?" "Exactly." I stood up, walking to the window. Below, Boston's financial district hummed with activity, oblivious to the storm brewing in my office. "Tessa," I called out, "get me everything you can on those therapists, and contact every woman mentioned in Nicholas's documents, every single one." "What are you planning?" Preston asked. "Marcel wants to play dirty? Fine, but he forgot something important." I turned back to face them. "I've spent 10 years designing homes for Boston's elite. I know everyone's secrets, including the judges he's probably trying to bribe." My phone buzzed. Tessa had found something. The text made my blood run cold. "Nicholas," I said slowly, "did you know Chloe's been visiting an OB/GYN?" His eyes widened. "No." Well, this just got more complicated. I forwarded the information to Ellie. "Get that injunction filed." Now, as everyone left my office, I finally allowed myself a moment of weakness. 10 years. 10 years of memories now tainted by lies. The house we'd built together, the parties we'd hosted, the life we'd crafted, all of it was fake. My phone buzzed again, a message from an unknown number. "You have no idea what you've started. Back off now, or everyone loses." I took a deep breath, straightened my spine, and typed back, "Bring it on," because Marcel had made one crucial mistake. He thought he'd married a trophy wife, someone to display and control. Instead, he'd married a woman who'd spent a decade learning from his playbook. And now? Now I was going to use every trick he'd taught me to burn his world to the ground, starting with whatever secret Chloe was carrying. The private dining room at the Bristol was Chloe's favorite spot for Sunday brunch. I'd made the reservation under the pretense of reconciliation, knowing her ego wouldn't let her refuse. "I'm surprised you wanted to meet," she said, sliding into the seat across from me. Her designer sunglasses couldn't hide the dark circles under her eyes. "Family is family," I replied, pouring her a glass of water, "even when they sleep with your husband." She flinched. "Roslyn, Save it." I pulled out a manila envelope. "Let's talk about your recent medical visits instead." The color drained from her face. "You had me followed?" "Didn't need to." "Your insurance is still linked to our family plan. Oversight on your part." Her hands trembled as she reached for the water. "What do you want?" "The truth. For once." I opened the envelope and laid out 3 items: her medical records, a DNA test kit, and a blank affidavit, starting with who really fathered your baby. "It's Marcel's," she whispered. "Really? Then you won't mind taking this test." She stared at the kit, then burst into tears. "Please, you don't understand." "Oh, but I do." I leaned forward, because I already ran the test, on Marcel's toothbrush and someone else's coffee cup. Want to guess the results? Chloe's mascara ran down her cheeks. "How did you Elliot's not as careful as he thinks. My brother really should learn to clean up after himself when he visits your apartment. The truth hung between us like a guillotine blade. My cousin was pregnant with my brother's child, not my husband's. Marcel doesn't know, she said quickly. He thinks he thinks he's finally trapped me. A baby would have given him the perfect leverage. I pushed the affidavit toward her. Sign it. What is it? A full confession. Your role in the fraud, the shell companies, everything. Sign it, and Elliot's name stays out of this mess. She read through the document, hands shaking. And if I don't? Then tomorrow morning, Marcel learns he's not the father. How do you think he'll react to knowing you played him too? The pen hovered over the paper. You've changed, Roslyn? No, I've just stopped pretending to be nice. I checked my watch. Tick tock, cousin. The DNA lab opens in an hour. She signed. One more thing, I said as she stood to leave. Why Elliot? Because he was kind, she whispered. Because he loved me for me, not as part of some scheme. She touched her stomach gently. Marcel was just means to an end. The money, the connections. But Elliot, get out, I said quietly. Before I forget we're family. After she left, I called Tessa. Send everything to Ellie and get me Elliot on the phone. My brother answered on the first ring. I can explain. Save it. Just tell me one thing. Did you know about Marcel's plans? No, he said firmly. I found out about the fraud last month. That's when I told Chloe to keep records of everything. I closed my eyes. You could have told me. Would you have believed me over your perfect husband? He had a point. She's keeping the baby, I said. You better step up. I will. I love her, Roz. For real. As I hung up, my phone buzzed with a message from Ellie. Major problem. Just discovered Marcel's been building a case to have you committed. He's got judges in his pocket. My hands clenched around the phone. That manipulative bastard had been planning to lock me up, take everything, and probably raise my brother's child as his own. I typed back, time to go nuclear, release everything to the DA. Are you sure? Once this goes public. Do it. He wants to play games with mental health. Let's see how he handles a federal investigation. I stood up, leaving cash for the untouched brunch. Outside, the summer sun felt too bright, too harsh, like it was illuminating every crack in my carefully constructed life. My phone buzzed again. A text from Marcel. Last chance to back down. Don't make me destroy you. I smiled, thinking of the signed affidavit in my purse and the federal agents probably already heading to his office. Too late, I typed back. I learned from the best. The game was changing. Marcel thought he was the master player, but he'd forgotten one thing. In chess, the queen is the most powerful piece on the board. And I was done being a pawn. He's trying to have me committed, Ellie, so let's give him exactly what he wants. My lawyer raised an eyebrow. I don't follow. Marcel thinks I'm unstable. Fine, I'll play the part. I paced her office. Set up a meeting. Make him think I'm desperate to reconcile. That's dangerous, Tessa interjected from her corner. He could record everything. Exactly. I smiled. But so will we. The trap was set for the following evening. I chose the restaurant carefully, a quiet, upscale place where Marcel had once proposed. Sentiment would make him careless. I arrived first, wearing the blue dress he always loved, looking appropriately fragile. The recording device felt cold against my ribs, hidden in a specially designed bra Tessa had sourced. Marcel walked in right on time, oozing false concern. Darling, you look tired. I haven't been sleeping well, I admitted, letting my voice shake slightly. Everything's so confusing lately. He reached across the table, taking my hand. I've been worried about you. These delusions about Chloe, the accusations. Maybe you're right, I whispered. Maybe I need help. His eyes lit up with predatory satisfaction. I've found an excellent facility, very discreet. They can help you understand what's real. Like the money transfers? The shell companies? See? These paranoid thoughts. He squeezed my hand harder. Let me take care of everything. Sign the papers I'll send tomorrow, and we can put this unfortunate episode behind us. What papers? Just some medical forms. Temporary power of attorney. For your own protection, of course. I pulled my hand away, letting tears fill my eyes. You're hurting me. Because you're being difficult, he hissed, dropping the concerned act. Sign the papers, or I'll make sure everyone knows how crazy you really are. Your business? Your reputation? Gone. Are you threatening me? I'm promising you. One phone call, and I can have you committed tonight. Who do you think they'll believe, the respected businessman or his unstable wife? I stood up abruptly, swaying slightly. I don't feel well. Sit down, he ordered, grabbing my wrist. We're not finished. Let go of me. Keep your voice down, he growled. Unless you want to make a scene. Like the scene you made with Caitlin years ago. Or with all those other women. His face darkened. You know nothing. I know everything, I said, my voice suddenly steady. Including what you did to Preston's company, the judges you bribed, the therapists you paid off. He released my wrist. Prove it? Oh, I will. In court? I touched my chest where the recording device sat. Starting with this entire conversation. The color drained from his face. You. Me? I smoothed my dress. By the way, the FBI is executing a search warrant on your office right now. Funny timing, isn't it? My phone buzzed. Ellie's signal that everything was in place. You can't do this, he said, but his voice had lost its power. I already have. I picked up my purse. Check your accounts, darling. They should be frozen by now. He grabbed his phone, fingers shaking as he tried to log into his banking app. The look of horror on his face was worth every second of the past 10 years. One more thing, I added. Chloe signed a full confession this morning. Turns out she's not as loyal as you thought. I'll destroy you, he threatened, but it sounded hollow. No, Marcel, you already tried that. For 10 years, you tried to break me down, make me doubt myself, turn me into your perfect, quiet little wife. I leaned close, whispering in his ear. But you forgot something important. What's that? I learned from the master. Every manipulation, every lie, every power play, I watched and learned. And now? I straightened up. Now I'm better at it than you. As I walked away, I heard him calling after me, but his voice was drowned out by the sound of my heels on the hardwood floor. Outside, Tessa waited with a car. Did you get it? She asked. I pulled out the recording device. Every word. Send it to Ellie. The FBI team just finished at his office, she reported. They found everything. I looked back at the restaurant where Marcel sat alone, his empire crumbling around him. He thought I was a porcelain doll, I said quietly. I turned out to be obsidian. Sharp, dark, unbreakable, and tomorrow in court I would prove it. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters when I arrived. Marcel's arrest had made headlines. Prominent businessman accused of fraud, conspiracy, and attempted psychological abuse. A real life horror story for Boston's elite. Mrs. Stevens, any comment on your husband's arrest? I kept walking, Ellie at my side, Tessa clearing our path. Inside, the courtroom was already packed. I spotted Caitlin and Preston in the front row, Elliot behind them. No sign of Olive. Apparently, my stepmother had fled to her vacation home in the Hamptons. Marcel sat with his lawyers, looking smaller in his navy suit than I remembered. The handcuffs probably didn't help. All rise, the bailiff called out. Judge Morrison entered, her reputation for handling white collar crime cases preceding her. She was exactly the kind of judge Marcel couldn't buy. I'd made sure of that. Your Honor, Ellie began, we have evidence of systematic fraud, coercion, and attempted illegal detention. For the next hour, we laid out everything the financial records Nicholas had provided, the recorded conversation from the restaurant, Chloe's signed affidavit. Each piece of evidence was another nail in Marcel's coffin. Then came my testimony. Mrs. Stevens, Ellie said, please tell the court when you first suspected your husband's activities. I described finding the hotel reservations, the long process of uncovering his schemes. Marcel's lawyer objected repeatedly, but Judge Morrison let me continue. And the mental health allegations? He tried to have me declared incompetent, I said clearly. Paid doctors to fabricate diagnoses, all to gain control of my assets before serving divorce papers. Lies! Marcel suddenly shouted. She's twisting everything. Control your client, Judge Morrison warned his lawyer. Then came the recording. Marcel's threats echoed through the courtroom, his voice dripping with malice as he promised to have me committed. I watched the judge's expression darken with each threat. The prosecution calls Chloe Freeman, the DA announced. Chloe walked in, pale but composed. Her testimony was devastating, detailing years of fraud, manipulation, and coercion. When she mentioned her pregnancy, Marcel's face contorted. And who is the father? The DA asked. Not Marcel, she said firmly. He only thought he was. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Marcel lunged forward, but his lawyers held him back. You lying bitch, he snarled. Remove the defendant, Judge Morrison ordered. As guards led Marcel out, he locked eyes with me. This isn't over. Actually, I replied calmly, it is. The judge's ruling was swift and severe. Marcel's assets remained frozen. The divorce would proceed with the prenup invalidated due to fraud. Criminal charges would follow. Furthermore, Judge Morrison added, I'm issuing a restraining order protecting Mrs. Stevens and Miss Freeman from any contact with the defendant. Outside, the media frenzy had doubled. Cameras flashed as Marcel was led to a waiting police car. Roslyn, he called out one last time. Please. I paused on the courthouse steps, remembering all the times he'd used that tone to manipulate me. Not anymore. Truth is its own revenge, I said, loud enough for the reporters to hear. Later that evening, I sat in my home office, watching the news coverage. My phone hadn't stopped buzzing with messages from other women coming forward with similar stories about Marcel. Caitlin brought me a glass of wine. How are you really doing? Tired, I admitted, but free. Did you see Olive's statement, claiming she had no idea about any of it? I laughed. Of course she did. Speaking of family, I nodded toward Elliot, who was pacing in the garden on the phone. He's stepping up, Caitlin said, already looking at houses near Chloe's. Good. I touched the empty space on my neck where the anniversary necklace had been. Some good should come from all this. My phone buzzed again, a text from Tessa. You need to see this. She'd sent a link to my mother's old online journal, something I hadn't known existed. The last entry, dated just before her death, caught my eye. Sometimes karma needs a helping hand. Sometimes justice wears designer heels and carries a lawyer's number. I felt tears forming, even from beyond my mother understood. What is it? Caitlin asked. Just karma, I replied, coming full circle. Outside, reporters were still camped at my gate, hungry for more details about Boston's scandal of the year. Let them wait. Some stories need time to be told properly. And mine? Mine was just beginning. The diamonds felt heavy in my hands as I studied them under my desk lamp. I'd had the necklace dismantled, each stone now separate and gleaming with potential. Are you sure about this? Tessa asked, watching me place them in individual velvet pouches. Absolutely. I sealed each bag carefully. The domestic violence shelter needs funding more than I need memories. My phone lit up with a news alert. Marcel Stevens pleads guilty to multiple fraud charges. The article mentioned his cooperation had revealed a wider network of financial crimes involving several prominent Boston figures. Your sister's here, Tessa announced. Caitlin walked in carrying takeout and a thick manila envelope. You won't believe what Preston found in Marcel's old files. She spread photos across my desk, Marcel with various women at charity events over the years. Each one had later reported suspicious financial losses or psychological manipulation. He had a type, I noted, successful women with something to lose. Had being the key word. Caitlin smiled. The DA's office is reaching out to all of them. My phone buzzed again. Elliot this time. At the hospital with Chloe. It's a girl. Go, I told Caitlin. Be with them. I have something to finish here. After she left, I opened my laptop and started typing. Dear Reddit, I promised myself I'd share this story once it was over. Not for revenge or attention, but because somewhere someone else might be living my old life, doubting their sanity, watching their world shrink, feeling powerless. The words flowed easily now. Every betrayal, Every manipulation, every moment of clarity leading to freedom. A knock at my door interrupted my typing. Olive stood there, looking older than I'd ever seen her. I brought your mother's things, she said quietly. Found them in the attic. I accepted the box without inviting her in. I was wrong, she added. About everything. Your mother would have been proud. No thanks to you. She nodded, accepting the blow. The diamonds. What will you do with them? Turn poison into medicine, I replied, closing the door. Inside the box, beneath old photos and letters, I found my mother's journal. Her last entry continued beyond what Tessa had shown me. My daughter will be stronger than I was. She'll break the cycle. And when she does, she'll help others break free too. I returned to my laptop, adding, my mother couldn't escape her cage, but she made sure I'd have the tools to break mine. This story isn't just about revenge, it's about recognition, about calling abuse by its name, whether it comes wrapped in designer suits or diamond necklaces. A notification popped up. The domestic violence shelter confirming receipt of my anonymous donation. Those diamonds would fund their legal advocacy program for the next 3 years. Another message arrived from Chloe. She has Elliot's eyes. Would you like to meet your niece? I stared at the photo she attached. The baby was tiny, perfect, untouched by all our family's darkness. Yes, I typed back. New beginnings deserve a chance. My office phone rang, the FBI agent handling Marcel's case. Mrs. Stevens, we've frozen 3 more offshore accounts. The funds will be returned to the victims once the paperwork clears. Thank you, I said. And the other women? Their statements are crucial to the case. You started a domino effect. I finished my Reddit post. Tonight, I'm sitting in my office watching the sun set over Boston. The same view I've had for 10 years, but everything is different. My husband is in jail. My cousin just had a baby. My sister is speaking to me again, and I'm finally truly free. The necklace he gave me that last night, I had it taken apart. Each diamond is funding someone else's escape. Because karma isn't just about revenge, it's about restoration, about turning weapons into shields. It wasn't the necklace that bound me, it was lies. Tonight, I unclasped them all. P.S. If you recognize yourself in this story, if you're questioning whether those red flags are really red flags, they are. Reach out, break free, turn your chains into wings. Because sometimes the happy ending isn't riding off into the sunset. Sometimes it's walking away, head held high, leaving your cage door open for the next bird to find their way out. I hit post and closed my laptop. Outside, Boston's lights were coming on, each one a star in my new constellation of freedom. Tomorrow would bring its own challenges, but tonight I was exactly who I needed to be, unbound, unafraid, unstoppable.